welcome to Saving Time at the Kitchen at Westminster. This week, compliments of Metro, we are going to be preparing pork chops baked on a bed of apples. I know, right? It's so good. And then we're gonna make a brown sugar butter sauce that we're gonna put on there. Sounds like dessert. Roasted potatoes and carrots with it. This is gonna be a delicious meal. Really, really nice. And all of this, pork chops are on for $2.44 a pound. What a good deal. Little bag of mini carrots, the peeled carrots, $2.99. 5-pound bag of potatoes, $3.49. Apples, 99 cents a pound. Can't go wrong on this. This is $15. Look at all our food. Now you will see I've already got the pork chops out. I'm bringing them up to room temperature. They tend to cook a little more tender if they're at room temperature when you start. I don't know what, there's science there that I don't understand. It doesn't matter, trust me about the room temperature. Okay, right off the start, this is kind of a cycle meal. We're gonna start with the potatoes, they're the longest cook. I am, for a change, I'm gonna tell you straight away, I'm preheating the oven to 350. And that's all it's gonna take. Now, here we go. We're just gonna, I've got just I've probably got a lot of potatoes, but we're cooking for 4. So we're just gonna peel them up, get them cleaned up. And again, if you've got nice potatoes that you just wanna scrub and leave the skins on, go ahead. These are russets, and they're good baking skins, but for roasted potatoes, I think the skin might be a little somehow it's kind of papery. I'm gonna peel them. And we're gonna cut these into a 1/2 inch cube tonight. Lower oven temperature, longer cooking time. Usually we're roasting the potatoes at like 425, but I want to keep that oven at a 350. So that's why we're going to have that long bake time on the potatoes. They come out lovely. It's all good. It's just a little longer, lower and slower. And we're going to get through all these. And with the apples, I mean, everybody knows pork chops and applesauce. You bake the apples right in there with it, all in one pan. If you have maple syrup, you can go ahead and use that in place of the brown sugar butter. I like it with the brown sugar and butter, and maple syrup is pretty dear, so maybe you don't want to use it for that. Maybe you want to save it where you can really taste it, like on your pancakes, French toast. Now I'm kind of hungry for things with maple syrup. These are lovely, coming up nice. And because it's the little baby carrots, the mini carrots, all we're gonna have to do with them later is give them a little rinse off and pat dry, and they'll be ready to go in. Super easy for prep. Super easy. And if you're cooking for a smaller crowd, then you've got some left over to throw in your lunch kit for some good healthy snacking. Because that's what everybody's all about, is good healthy snacking, right? I'm not surprising anyone with that idea. Hope not. And sorry, this is kind of slow, but not either. It's what it is, potatoes. I don't like to prep ahead because I want to show you that this really is an achievable timing. If I had everything ready, you'd say, oh yeah, sure. So I like to make sure that I do it all with you, and then you know that the timing is true. And just for the record, it's 4:40. We'll see what time we're ready to plate it. I think we're going to be just about dead on an hour. I think so. So once again, we're filling up our bowl for compost, which we won't have a lot of tonight, but we are going to make sure this comes back to us as more food by composting it, not buying in boxes. It's good to think outside the box, better not to eat from one when we can help it. And we are just about done with the potatoes. And like I said, I'm going to go 1/2 inch cubes. We'll see. And just as always, you want a nice uniform size so they bake up at the same rate. A little spot on that one, we'll just peel it away. Just peel it away. Otherwise you can get it with your knife later. And there we go. But that's why we've got an extra potato in the pot anyway. This time of year, we're looking at the bottom of the cold storage and getting ready for another season. And there we go. I know my husband is getting excited about getting out in the garden. There's all that. Just a quick little wipe. And I'm just gonna get a towel. I don't wanna rinse the potatoes at this point. I don't wanna get them wet. then they won't brown nicely for us. But we'll just give them a little rub off, because when I was peeling them, I'm moving dirt. And we'll do that, just to get that. And there. Okay, that's all of them. That's it. That can go to the side. And oh, look at the mess I've made. Oh, it's a huge mess. Tragedy, that is. Okay, it's all cleaned up. We can all settle down. Okay, let's cut them up. Shannon's laughing at me a bit. I know. Okay, there we go. And I'm gonna go 3 wide, and that's about the size of cube I want. So just like that, and then just, you want them about like that size. Small enough that they're all gonna cook up nice and quick. Well, an hour is not quick, but at that low temperature it is. And there we go. We don't want the oven higher, because then our pork chops and apples wouldn't cook up the way we want. And I'm a fan of getting everything in the oven at the same temperature, keeping it simple. And something has to go in first, so why not this? And there. And I'm trying to make them equal. And there. Look at that. Into the bowl. Throw them into a bowl so that we can season them and toss them around with some oil. If you try to do it on the baking sheet, it ends up being, instead of a time saver, I find things like that, little shortcuts, they end up costing me time, because then I've got a little mess on my hands, or I tear the parchment, or who knows what. It ends up not saving me anything. And there. These are nice little potatoes anyway, and then they're just bite-sized when you go to eat them. In case that matters. Makes it fast, I guess. If you've got young people at home, going fast counts. They're obviously in a hurry to do their homework, no doubt. maybe something else. Okay. And there. Okay, there's another one. And into the bowl. And into the bowl. There we go. Last couple. And there. And there. That. And the carrots, again, because they're little, we're just going to add the carrots for the very last 20 minutes. They're only those little tiny ones, much longer than that, and they'd be little, I'm afraid they wouldn't look very appetizing anymore. 20 minutes is all they'll need at the end. And that'll do them nicely. They'll be perfect. And the pork chops and apples are just 40 minutes, so really the potatoes are the longest. And it's kind of nice to know that you can do them. I always thought you had to roast potatoes at a higher temperature. And then, oops, sorry about that. Sorry about that. It was louder than it needed to be, probably. I hope it didn't sound awful at your end. Okay, potatoes are ready. All we're gonna do is our usual. We're gonna put a couple of tablespoons of oil on there. So I'm gonna call it 1 and 2, just like that. And then we need some salt and pepper. So, do maybe 2 good shakes of salt. That's a shake. In any other way, that's a shake. And now pepper, and I'm gonna go 1 shake of pepper. Okay, and then we'll get our spoon, push them around a little. You wanna coat all of the potatoes in the oil and in the salt and pepper until they all look about the same. You want to make sure, you can tell if a potato's coated or not. If it still looks kind of dull and matte, it's definitely not got any oil on it. So, I got a baking sheet ready earlier with parchment paper. Not necessary until you go to do the dishes, and then you're so happy. So, potatoes in a nice big single layer around here, just like that. We're gonna add the carrots to the pan later, so choose one that's big enough to accommodate that little bag of carrots. Don't squish them up or you won't have room later. And there we go, just like that. We're gonna put this in the oven and set the timer for 20 minutes. And at the 20-minute mark, we'll be ready to add our meat. right now. I'm gonna get this oven open. I'm feeling pretty strong about this right now. Haha, it's brilliant. And it was used a lot this weekend. So potatoes I'm gonna put in right at the top. Mostly I put the potatoes in at the top because later when I go to add things, I'm less likely to bump my hand and burn myself if they're at the top. And there we go. I'm gonna set my timer for 20 minutes. I already had it set earlier, so I just have to push start. And that's ready to go. Okay. And next step is our apples and pork. You can see I've got about a tablespoon of butter in here. I'm gonna push it around. I'm gonna throw caution to the wind and go ahead and bake directly in the pan this time. As always, if you have a Pyrex dish, I would recommend using it. They're easier to scrub than these are. That's gonna be my problem later, okay? So just, I don't mind using my fingers. If you don't like that, then you're gonna get a piece of wax paper or something to put under it. And just go all the way around the bottom. And I usually just go a little bit on the side, just up barely on the side, just to make sure that if things sit right on the edge of the pan, they don't glom up and stick. We're gonna be using sugar, so you don't want it to get horrible in there. And like I said, I guess I had about a tablespoon. I don't know, about a tablespoon. And there we go, all like that. That's all through. And look, lucky I've got this paper towel, because now I can clean up. And there. Now, we're gonna put our apples in the bottom. It won't matter what kind of apple you have. Metro has the Gala apples on sale for 99 cents a pound. I've got 3 good sized apples here, and I think that's what you need, is 3 good sized ones. We wanna peel them and cut them. So we need our handy compost bowl. Now, if you have any really good firm apple is going to do the job for you here. It doesn't need to be a Gala. If you have apples in the house already, go ahead and use whatever you've got. And there we go. And even if you've got a little bit of skin left on there, it's not going to matter. I mean, it's not a big deal. It's just that when it bakes, probably somebody at the table isn't going to love getting a piece of peel. That's all that really matters about that. And there, whoop, I'll get that one later. And if you have, in truth, Cortlands are great apples to cook with because they don't brown as fast as other apples. In this case, we're cooking them, but keep that in mind for if you're cutting up apples to give to your kids or something like that, or in a Waldorf salad. The Cortlands will stay longer before going brown. So they're nice for things like that. And around the top, I used to be able to impress my kids by going around the apple in one swipe, right? And then it was a bit of a magic trick. Doesn't impress them anymore, but still, it was a good trick. It was a good one to have up my sleeve. It's much easier to do with an apple that's, excuse me, that's getting a little old. Oh, there, I was close that time. And all the way around, and that little bit off. There we go, easy peasy. I'm gonna keep working with this little knife. To cut up your apple, you can see where your core is, you can see the center of your apple. They're not always straight, so don't bargain on that. And then go down one side, go down the other side, and then like that. And then you cut away the core without having a whole lot of waste. There's one. We're gonna cut it into pieces about that size, okay? We don't want them to disappear completely, but at the same time, we want them to be cooked. And so just like that, just nice. I don't know what they are. They're probably about a 1/4 inch, about my finger's width, unless things have changed. Okay, and this one, just like that, one side, the other side, and then you can even lay it down and kind of visual see where the core is. And if you want to be, you could cut that off, and that tip, and now you've got a snack. And why not? Why not have a little snack? You'll be getting hungry thinking about supper. Into the pan, I've got a nice big pan here because I've got quite a few pork chops and I want them to be spread out in the pan. So you might, depending on the size of your chops and how many you're doing, you just want to create a bed with the apples, but it doesn't matter if they're layered. You just want your chops to be out side by side. And this one's on quite an angle. There we go. And there. And some more snacks for later. A little bit. This is the privilege of being the cook, right? It's not even sampling. It's just taking care of things. Okay. If other people want it, they could be here helping. Maybe you have good health. Maybe you actually have some good health there right now. There they go. Look at how fast and easy this meal is. And it's delicious. And there we go, just like that. Get one more slice in there. That's not a very sharp knife, but it was the right size for that job. And there. Okay, now, just gonna spread them around a little bit. This is a really big pan because of all those chops, but there you go. So your apples are all spread out in the bottom. And then what you're gonna do is get some cinnamon. Oh, these little bags are handy the way they close, but I gotta tell you, I struggle. Struggle with finding it. So about a half teaspoon of cinnamon, and you're just gonna, I'm gonna gather them up so that it's easier to get it on them, and then I can spread them out again after. And just like that, just sprinkle that cinnamon around. We're gonna add more to our sauce. And there you go. So our apples are all ready to go, just like that. And then we're gonna get our chops that by now are getting closer to being to room temperature. And you know what? If you actually touch them, you can see that they're feeling softer than they did when we first started, when they first come out of the refrigerator. Let them come to room temperature. It's a better idea overall. So what we want to do is I'm going to salt and pepper them on the plates and then put them in upside down, and then we can go from there. And we'll just do this. Okay. Now, salt. This is the salt. These are bone-in chops, which actually I think is nicer sometimes because if you get the boneless ones, they can dry out pretty quick. Not a fan of dry pork chops. So this is getting bone in. They tend to, for the time it takes to cook them, they don't dry out so quickly. Same thing if you need to cook chicken for a long time, the dark meat is better. The thighs and things and legs are better because they'll take that long cook time, whereas a chicken breast, you dry it out pretty quick. And then it's a shame. Nobody wants that. So I'm going to put the side that I've already seasoned down, and then I can go across the top again. And I'm just laying them on there. I'm trying to make them fit in one layer if possible. I might have to be a little magical with the last one. And it's a little bit, did you play Tetris when you were a kid? Oh, that one's not the right way. I can see the salt and pepper on it. Narrow miss. And there we go. There's that. Now we're going to salt and pepper that side. And there we go. And now some pepper. And a little bit more. And there's that. Okay. Now, next thing we need to do is make our sauce. And how are we doing for time? I'm just going to peek. Oh, for heaven's sakes, we've got 10 minutes left. Now, you need a 1/4 cup of butter. And I've already cut it up. Now, if you when you buy a pound of butter, I'm sure you all know, but just in case, you cut it into 4 sticks. Each stick is a 1/2 cup. So I just did 1/2 a stick. And now I know I've got a 1/4 cup. I've diced it all up. I'll be honest, I was hoping that the top of my oven would get hot enough. I had this sitting on the top and was hoping that the heat coming out would do that, but this is a very efficient oven, not like the one I have at home, which I definitely would have been able to. So there's a microwave across the hall. I'm going to go do that, and I'll be back with the melted butter. You do whatever you need to do to melt yours. I'm going to let Shannon have a break for a second while I go and do this. Okay? Okay, so I use microwave. And isn't that something? If your oven at home, I'm sure, like there's usually an outlet burner that the heat comes through. If you had put your measuring cup with the butter in it there at the very beginning, it would have been melted by now. It's kind of funny. It's also kind of nice to know that that oven is that efficient. So, 1/4 cup of melted butter, and now we're going to add 1/3 cup of brown sugar. I know that 1/3 cup is 5 tablespoons. So we're going to go 1, because I already have the tablespoon out, and I am not interested in doing a lot of dishes, as you know. So that's 3, and 4, and 5. Okay, so 5 tablespoons of brown sugar, and then we're going to go 1/2 tablespoon or 2 teaspoons of cornstarch. So that's about 1/2. That's just going to help it thicken, like to be a little bit thickened. And then we need our other 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. And it's our other 1/2 teaspoon because on the board there I marked 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. We used 1/2 on top of our apples, and we're going to use the other 1/2 in this part. I'm just going to use this spoon now. And just like that. That's all closed up. And give it a stir. Of course, you could have done this in a pot on the stove. It's totally up to you how you do it. And I like doing it like this because then I've got the pour spout. It's easy peasy. And like I said, I was hoping that it was going to melt on top of the oven. Can you imagine though if I'd struggled opening the oven and it slid off? That maybe I was saved by that. That might not have been a good idea, what with my history with the oven. Just going to get that out of our way. So there you go. That's how it is. Just like that. We're just going to spoon it over the pork chops and the apples. It gets baked in there. If you prefer to use maple syrup, combined we're looking at 1/2 cup. So if you use maple syrup, you're going to want 1/2 cup of maple syrup. This I'm just going to go like that. We'll spread it around. We're going to make sure that we get some on each, and then we'll go crazy. In the way I go crazy, right? Okay, crazy. And make sure it's shared around. Obviously, as it cooks, it will thin down further. That sugar will just turn into liquid. And just like that. And there. I really recommend using butter here for the flavor versus a margarine. If margarine's what you have, it's not going to, nothing bad is going to happen, but I think the flavor profile of the butter is better. Okay, now use the back of your spoon and just spread it around. Obviously, if you've used maple syrup, it's more, there's a word for it that I don't know.
Runny?
It's runnier. We can go, we'll run with runny. It's going to pour over a lot more effectively. But this, we're just going to spread it around, make sure it's all there, just like that. Now, done. That's done. I'm just gathering up my few dirty dishes right there. That's going to be ready to go when our timer goes, and the timer says we've still got 3 minutes before it's due in. Let's start with our carrots. So, the carrots, when they're in these bags, they pack them in a little bit of, I'm gonna run with water. I don't know, it's probably a salted water, but nevertheless, we're gonna dump them in here, and something there, I think it was a piece of potato that I dropped. We're gonna dump them in here, and I could open that further and then we wouldn't struggle. And there we go. And what we want is we're going to give them a rinse, and then we're going to let them drain, because as always, you don't want them to be wet when they go in the oven. So I'm going to come around on your side, Shannon. I'm going to go, I'll go to that sink over there, and then it's easier. So we're just going to give them a good rinse, just cold water. Give them a push around, give them a rinse off, and then we're not going to need them for a few minutes. So we can just do that, and set them in the sink so they can drain and not make a puddle anywhere you don't want them to. Look at all we've done here. So we've got this, that's no big deal. I'm gonna live with that. And we've got this, that's it. Look at this, our prep work is basically done. We're gonna add those carrots 20 minutes after we put this in. That's it. This is how easy our dinner was. Can you imagine? I'm surprised myself standing here thinking, okay, I think it was 20 to 5 when we started. It's 10 after, our prep is done. Our prep work is done. This is a no-brainer. This meal is so easy and so tasty. This brown sugar sauce that we're putting on the apples and chops, really nice on the carrots too when you push them around on your plate later. It's really nice. I'm gonna look at my timer because if we don't have to listen to it beep, we won't. And I'm gonna throw caution to the wind. It shows 1 minute left on it. I think we can go ahead and put the pork chops in and not feel too bad about it. I'm gonna push stop so that we don't hear it lose its mind and beep at us. And this will go in. And it's getting so easy. Or I'm getting really strong. So look at how nice that looks going in. And I'm gonna put it right underneath. I'm gonna get my spatula and push those potatoes around a little bit while I've got the oven open. A pot holder. And I just wanna move them. I'm just moving them so that they cook evenly. Look at how they're browning up already for us. Isn't that nice? Just like that, right? Already coming together so nice. Okay, in they go. We've given them a push. They don't need anything else. I'm gonna turn that pan so that it's more even. There we go. Everything's in. 20 minutes on the timer. I'll see you then. Okay, 20 minutes are up. I'm gonna take my sheet of potatoes out. It smells so good, you guys. Yummy. So I've got my potatoes here. I'm just gonna give them a little push around. Just look at how nice they're already cutting. That's at 350. I mean, we didn't need to worry about the low temperature. And push them around. I'm just gonna make a little bit of space here. And add our carrots. And I'm just gonna grab my oil. I put it away, but I do wanna do a little drizzle of oil on there just to keep them from drying out on us. So just, I don't know, let's talk. We're gonna say I've just put 1 tablespoon because that was nice, gentle pouring. Now, oh dear, and there we go. Now this always flies up on me. I'm gonna tuck it in right now while I can. There we go. Ah, I'm not gonna worry about it anymore. And this back into the oven and another 20 minutes. Those pork chops and apples smell delicious. And in it goes. Set your timer for 20 minutes and start setting the table. Honestly, we're 20 minutes to eating. 20 minutes are up. I think dinner's ready. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Let's bring this out. Ah, ha, ha, ha. Look at that. Look at that. That looks good. Just right there. Beautiful. Oh, that looks nice. Let's grab a fork. And 1, 2. Nice, easy peasy. That one's gonna have to be mine because it's stuck to the fork. And our pork chops and apples, I wish you could smell. You have to cook this because it's the only way you're gonna smell it. And it smells divine. Look at that. Oh, look at that. Oh, if only you could smell it. Okay, I'm gonna close this and we're gonna cut into that pork chop. Make sure it's lovely. I'm not actually gonna eat that, I'm gonna knock it off. And I put my knife away. I cleaned up too quickly. I was excited. And here's my knife. We're just gonna cut in and make sure, oh, beautiful tender. Look at that, like, look at that. Oh, it's gorgeous. And there's our beautiful apples. This has got to go on your carrots. Rosemary, final touch. I actually brought rosemary that I dried from my garden. I'm not even showing off, I just have a lot and it's almost gonna be growing again. So take whatever rosemary you have. If you bought some fresh or something, that's great. If you have dried, also good. If you're like me, just crumble it as you put it on. And trust me about the rosemary, it just brings out the flavor completely. Just like that. Want to make sure there's a little bit on each piece. And gorgeous. A little bit fell, we don't want to waste it, it's too pretty. Now, let's plate one up and see how good it looks. So we've got that. And Shannon, this is looking, I don't know which one looks good to you. Shannon has to pick one for me to plate up. The center one is our center one. Okay, just like that. There's a beauty. And then we're gonna get some potatoes and carrots, just like this. And like that, look at that, right? And I need a spoon to put some of that delicious sauce on there. Sorry, Shannon, I wasn't very well organized. Now I've got one. And look at how nice this looks, you guys. We're gonna get some apples, put them on top, just like that. Drizzle some of that beautiful sauce on there. Look at that, isn't that nice? Look at that, one more apple. One more, there. And I think you're gonna wish that you had some of that on your carrots. Voila, dinner for 4. Look at how nice this is. $15, are you kidding me? Are you even kidding me? This is, I don't even know. This is way more than, well, 15 divided by 4, $4.50, $4.25, something like that. Where do you get that for $4.25? Your own kitchen. You get it at your own kitchen for that price. Metro, $15, family of 4, beautiful supper. These sales last until Wednesday, so that'll be the 24th of March. And after that, I mean, this is still a great meal at any price. And make sure you get there then to get these good prices though. Get these pork chops, put them in the freezer. You can have this anytime. And just, you know, take advantage of the good deals while they're there. Get some of these, put them away. You can cook this up anytime you want to. Quit letting food eat up all your time and money, okay? Let's get busy in the kitchen. Bon appetit.